so here we have our Orrery model, which is as much to scale as we could do it with the planets and the distances. It's all 3D printed gears and some bearings, which I put away. Oh, here's some bearings, little tiny bearings that go inside there that are available on Amazon. And then you have the planets, which I just printed on different colors. My second one I'm doing, I'm probably gonna print them white, and then Evelyn, the artist, is gonna paint them to make them more realistic colored. So I'm also thinking, since I'm only gonna do the 4 inner planets for the next version, to make it bigger, make the planets bigger, like 1.5 size. Oh, there, the sun's going supernova again. So in the new one, I'm thinking about making the Earth about that big. Still have to decide. See, it's just printed out with a hole in the bottom of it, and it fits there's 2 different steel rods here, 3mm and 2mm. Oh, look, Mercury is now in, oh, we're ruining someone's horoscope.
All right, there we go.
The original design calls for brass tubing, hollow brass tubing, which I couldn't find easily on Amazon. But this metal tubing they use a lot for model airplanes, for landing gear, and it's not hard to bend. It's all hand bent. So one of the other projects I'm working on is a little machine that will automatically bend the metal. They sell it commercially.
There's a hobby store at Palmer and Mopac that has the brass tubing.
Okay.
They also do like piano wire and a whole bunch of materials like that. So.
Okay. Yeah, I've been to that one. It's near the Fry's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
In the parking lot in front of Fry's.
Yes, in the parking lot. Yeah, with the Harbor Freight there.
Yeah, they do a lot of radio-controlled car stuff there, and like stuff for making the framework around your model train set.
Sure.
So
there's actually, when I was digging up into people bending the metal, I mean, there's big scale stuff. For small, there's not. Most of the airplane people are doing it by hand. There are some commercial ones available. The cheapest commercial one is about $5,000, which I didn't want to spend for bending some wire. And then it goes up. Though it did make sense because one of their biggest customers is actually a pinball game manufacturer, which makes sense because they're doing the ramps with the metal.
yeah, they maintain a very consistent gap.
And this, since I was learning, it was a little finicky putting it together. I learned quite a bit putting it together. The other drag is you got to cut out of the longer lengths of metal. You've got to cut little 4mm or 6mm lengths of it for this section. Those 2 gears, those little axles there that actually go inside the bearing. So you're sitting there with a Dremel cut off, trying to not cut your finger off and have the hot steel fly into your face. And so that's another thing I'm working on, is a little tiny Dremel chop. So
I would think a little modeling glue if you want to put the sun back together and have it stick.
Yeah, I haven't glued the sun permanently because I wasn't sure if I was going to wire it or not.
Okay.
Because what would happen is the wires would drop down, and then there would be a slip ring in the bottom that would allow you to send power up, because otherwise the wires would just twist. But I was just glad that it moved. And then I'm like, well, I have just enough parts to do a couple of planets, and that's why I said I'm just doing the inner planets for the next one, because I didn't want to reorder a bunch more bearings. And they're not hard to find. I got them on Amazon, but I ended up being like the last person to buy. You know, there are only 4 more left, and like I bought the last 4 in the country. And you could get this stuff from places like McMaster Car and other big suppliers, but you know, it's just easier for me to.
Yeah, I'm finding that Amazon is beating MasterCard on prices for a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And sometimes it is, you know, sometimes, like the motor I probably overpaid for. I could have had it imported a lot cheaper, but I also wanted it to move now and not
Yeah.
in 6 weeks. So it probably took about, I want to say maybe $30 worth of parts, $30 or $40.
How many hours?
Most of it was print time. Nearly every, well, yeah, that's a good point. Nearly every gear you see there has been reprinted at least once. Because I was practicing the valuable lesson of just because something prints on one machine doesn't mean it's going to be exactly the same size on another machine. A good example of that is when I was working on my little, I'm doing a little model of a Commodore PET computer. And I started with one print, and I was printing some prints on one printer and some prints on the other printer, and of course they were like a millimeter or two off between the two printers. So it's consistent between the printers, but I don't have mine tuned enough. So, like, this was printed on one printer and this was on another. And I've been now scoping out tiny little displays to put inside of it so that I can have
It's gonna be your calendar.
or like a weather station maybe, something like that. So I've been trying to find one that will fit. Everybody, it's interesting, when you're looking for these cheap import displays on Amazon, they have the dimension, but almost none of them have the actual dimensions of the board. So it's a little bit of guesswork to figure what will fit. But it is amazing that when,
How'd you print two colors here? Black and white.
this one or
Black-
this one?
Black keys and white, yeah.
Okay, these are different parts.
Oh.
So the keys were one print, the main keyboard was one print, that was another print, and this bottom part was a print. And then they were super glued together. And like this black part was printed in black, and well, one of these I cuttingly colored with a Sharpie.
Well, she just turned that over, so did you just lay those keys in then, a recess?
There's a little the model has a little
recess?
recess. Yeah, in fact, here. I don't know if I have all the pieces to this second one printed out, because I stopped printing it because it was the wrong size. But I could print you out the rest and you can have this one. Put it together. But yeah, it's just super glue. But it is designed to put a little microcontroller inside of it, which I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna have one of these little, whatever, like ESP, whatever, very common Wi-Fi capable chip. So this will get tucked in here. There's plenty of space because it's a big old computer. And they have there's enough space in here for a little lithium-ion battery if you really want to be crazy. So there's a recreation of when did the PET come out? 78? 77?
That's about right.
Computer with now, this board will have more computing power than
Yeah,
by far in the original machine.
I was telling him I bought my first Radio Shack in '79, it was 4K.
Yeah, it's not 4 meg, 4 gig, 4K. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, can Dakota go?
Yes, go
Okay,
right
Your
ahead.
turn.